The Return of Billy Jack was not just a long-awaited sequel, it was a cinematic ghost. A 20-minute hallucination designed to look like a movie, born from the desperate mind of a man who had already lost everything. What audiences thought was a forgotten 80s action film was actually one of the strangest fundraising schemes in Hollywood history. Behind the scenes of this phantom sequel, a different kind of battle raged, one with a star's crumbling health, a plot involving psychic healing and nuclear disarmament, and a final product so bizarre it was never truly released. These are not just production notes. They are the final, confusing chapters of a Hollywood legend's slow, strange fade to black. Today, we are exposing the truth with 20 weird facts about the return of Billy Jack. And stay tuned to the end for a bonus fact about the film's physical print that is so incredible. You will not believe it ever saw the light of day again. Hit that subscribe button and let's unravel the mystery of Hollywood's strangest comeback. Number 20. The film is not actually a film. It is a 20-minute demo reel. Let's start with the biggest secret of all. The Return of Billy Jack is not a movie. It is not a feature film. It is a 20-minute demo reel or sizzle reel that Tom Laughlin shot and edited in a desperate attempt to secure financing for a real movie. What audiences did not know was that this sequel was essentially a high-concept trailer, a collection of scenes designed to convince investors to give him millions of dollars. It was not a story, it was a sales pitch. For decades, it was passed around bootleg circles under the false pretense of being a lost feature, a complete misunderstanding of what it actually was. This was not a failed film, it was a failed business proposal captured on videotape. The entire legend of this movie is built on a foundation of misunderstanding, making it one of the most unique artifacts in cult cinema history. Number 19, it was designed to trick investors out of millions of dollars. The demo reel was not just a pitch, it was a carefully constructed illusion designed to part investors from their money. Tom Laughlin presented this 20-minute tape as a completed preview of a full-scale $15 million epic. What audiences did not know was that the entire project was a high-risk gamble. Laughlin was not just seeking funding, he was selling a dream of a massive Billy Jack resurgence. The reel was cut to look like a trailer for a major motion picture, complete with action beats, dramatic moments, and a promise of a larger story. It was not art, it was commerce in its most desperate form. The most shocking part? The plan was to use the money raised from this demo to produce the actual film, a classic case of robbing Peter to pay Paul. This was not just filmmaking, it was a financial Hail Mary pass that would ultimately fall incomplete, leaving investors with nothing but a confusing 20-minute videotape. Number 18. Tom Laughlin's failing health is painfully visible on screen. The man who played the stoic, indestructible Billy Jack was, by 1985, a shadow of his former self. Tom Laughlin was in his mid-50s and suffering from a series of health issues, including severe back problems and the lingering effects of a stroke he had suffered years earlier. What audiences did not know was that his physical decline is brutally apparent in the demo footage. It was not just a performance, it was a document of a man's frailty. In the action scenes, Laughlin moved slowly and stiffly, his famous martial arts prowess reduced to awkward, carefully blocked movements. The fight choreography is simplified to accommodate his physical limitations. It was not just aging, it was a painful reminder that time comes for us all, even cultural icons. The most tragic element is watching a character defined by physical power being portrayed by an actor struggling with his own body. The reel becomes an unintentionally poignant look at the end of an era. Number 17. The plot is a bizarre mix of New Age healing and nuclear disarmament. Gone are the simple tales of standing up to bullies and corrupt sheriffs. The plot for The Return of Billy Jack was something else entirely. The demo reel introduces a storyline where Billy Jack becomes a spiritual guru using his Native American heritage and New Age healing techniques to cure the world of nuclear anxiety. What audiences did not know was that this bizarre turn was a direct reflection of Tom Laughlin's real-life immersion in Jungian psychology and alternative medicine during the 1980s. It was not just a story, it was his personal philosophy projected onto his most famous character. The footage shows Billy Jack leading group therapy sessions and talking about universal consciousness before launching into awkwardly staged action sequences. It was not just a weird plot. It was a complete abandonment of the character's blue collar, everyman roots in favor of something far more esoteric and confusing. Number 16. It was shot on cheap video, not film. One of the most jarring things about the demo reel is its visual quality. The Return of Billy Jack was not shot on beautiful 35mm film like its predecessors. It was shot on early, low-quality videotape. What audiences did not know was that this was a cost-cutting measure born of pure desperation. Film stock, processing, and lab work were expensive, but videotape was cheap. It was not an artistic choice, it was a financial necessity. The result is a grainy, flat, and visually unappealing image that looks more like a local cable access program than a major motion picture. The colors are muted, the lighting is harsh, and there is a complete lack of cinematic texture. It was not just a different look, it was a visual downgrade that screamed low budget. This choice instantly dates the project and strips Billy Jack of his mythic, larger-than-life visual identity, grounding him in the cheap aesthetic of 1980s home video. Number 15. The action scenes are painfully awkward and slow. The Billy Jack films were famous for their brutal, kinetic, and surprisingly effective martial arts sequences. The Return of Billy Jack demo reel offers the complete opposite. The action scenes are slow, clumsy, and almost embarrassing to watch. What audiences did not know was that this was due to a combination of Laughlin's health issues, a lack of proper stunt coordination, and a budget that could not afford any real excitement. The fights feature wide shots, slow motion punches that clearly miss, and a distinct lack of impact. It was not just choreography, it was a pale imitation of what came before. In one infamous clip, Billy Jack fights a group of attackers who seem to be waiting their turn to be gently pushed over. The entire sequence lacks the visceral energy that made the original film's finale so iconic. It was not just a bad fight scene, it was a sad reminder that the legend had lost its punch. Number 14. It reuses footage from the earlier Billy Jack films. Strapped for cash and ideas, the demo reel for The Return of Billy Jack resorts to one of the cardinal sins of sequels. It recycles old footage. Interspersed with the new, poorly shot video are clips from The Trial of Billy Jack and Billy Jack Goes to Washington. What audiences did not know was that this was not done for a flashback effect. It was done to pad out the 20-minute runtime and remind potential investors of the character's glorious past. It was not just a creative choice, it was a crutch. The jarring contrast between the gritty 1970s film stock of the old footage and the cheap 80s video of the new scenes is incredibly distracting. It was not just a mismatch, it was a constant reminder that the magic was gone. The new footage suffers immensely in comparison, looking like a weak fan film spliced into a masterpiece. Number 13. The cast is a collection of unknowns and non-actors. Look closely at the demo reel and you will notice a distinct lack of recognizable faces. Besides Tom Laughlin and Dolores Taylor, the entire cast is made up of unknown actors, or more likely, friends, family, and local talent who were probably paid very little, if anything. What audiences did not know was that this was another symptom of the non-existent budget. Laughlin could not afford to hire professional character actors to create a believable world. It was not just a casting choice, it was a financial reality. The performances range from wooden to bewildered, with actors clearly struggling to deliver Laughlin's preachy, new age dialogue with a straight face. It was not just bad acting, it was a complete lack of the professional polish that even the cheapest Hollywood films possess. The world of Billy Jack, once populated by memorable faces, now feels like an empty stage. Number 12. The film's music is a generic, synth-heavy mess. The iconic folk rock-infused score of the original Billy Jack is gone. In its place, the demo reel features a generic synth-heavy soundtrack that screams 1980s made-for-television movie. What audiences did not know was that this music was likely stock library music. Another cost-cutting measure. It was not a composed score, it was off-the-shelf audio. The music completely undermines any sense of tension or drama, instead feeling cheap and dated. The heroic themes are replaced with bland electronic melodies that have zero emotional weight. It was not just a different sound, it was the removal of the film's soul. The music of the original films was as much a character as Billy Jack himself. Here, it is just background noise, another element that strips the project of its identity and reduces it to a forgettable 80s curiosity. Number 11, it was released directly to video home system in a baffling marketing scheme. In a move that confused video store owners and customers alike, the 20-minute demo reel was actually packaged and released on video home system tape. Some copies were marketed as a full-length feature, while others were sold as a special preview. What audiences did not know was that this was a last-ditch effort by Laughlin to recoup some of his costs. He was not just distributing a film, he was selling a promise. People who rented or bought the tape were understandably furious when they discovered it was only 20 minutes long and ended abruptly. It was not just a release strategy, it was a customer relations disaster. The tape became a notorious collector's item, not for its quality, but for its sheer audacity. This bizarre video home system release cemented the film's legendary status as one of the most misleading home video products in history. Number 10, the entire project was born from financial ruin. The return of Billy Jack was not just a creative impulse, it was the final, frantic act of a man who had lost everything. After the catastrophic failure and legal battles of Billy Jack Goes to Washington, Tom Laughlin was bankrupt. His production company was gone, his reputation in tatters. What audiences did not know was that this demo reel was his only remaining asset, his only shot at getting back in the game. He was not just making art, he was trying to save his life's work from oblivion. The project reeked of desperation, from the cheap video to the bizarre plot. It was not just a sequel, it was a cry for help. Every frame of the demo reel is infused with the raw, palpable energy of a man with nothing left to lose, making it one of the most strangely compelling and tragic footnotes in cult cinema history. Number 9, Dolores Taylor's role is reduced to a spiritual sidekick. Jean Roberts, Billy Jack's fiercely independent partner, is a shell of her former self in the demo reel. Dolores Taylor returns, but her character is no longer the activist and teacher from the previous films. She is transformed into a soft-spoken, new age acolyte who supports Billy Jack's spiritual journey. What audiences did not know was that this reflected the real-life shift in Tom and Dolores' partnership, with their focus moving from political activism to more esoteric psychological pursuits. It was not just character development, it was a personal evolution projected onto the screen. Taylor's performance is gentle, but lacks the fire and conviction that defined her earlier work. It was not just a different role, it was the neutering of one of cinema's earliest and most compelling female action heroes, reducing her to a supporting player in her own story. Number 8. There is no completed script, only scene ideas. The plot of The Return of Billy Jack feels disjointed and incomplete because there was never a finished screenplay. The demo reel was based on a collection of scene ideas, character concepts, and thematic notes, not a cohesive narrative. What audiences did not know was that Laughlin was essentially making it up as he went along, filming scenes that he thought would look good to investors without a clear idea of how they would connect in a final film. It was not just a rough cut, it was a collection of puzzle pieces from different boxes. The demo jumps from Billy Jack talking about healing to a half-hearted fight scene, to a moment of quiet reflection with no narrative through line. It was not just a story, it was a mood board for a movie that never existed. This lack of a solid script is the primary reason the footage feels so directionless and strange. Number 7, the film's message is overwhelmingly preachy and confusing. The early Billy Jack films had a clear, powerful message: stand up to injustice. The demo for The Return of Billy Jack is mired in a confusing soup of New Age philosophy, anti-nuclear sentiment, and self-help psychology. What audiences did not know was that this was Tom Laughlin's unfiltered worldview after years of studying with various gurus and therapists. It was not just a story, it was a lecture. The dialogue is less about action and more about long, rambling monologues on cosmic consciousness and the healing power of love. It was not just a different tone, it was a complete abandonment of the character's populist, blue-collar roots in favor of something abstract and alienating. The simple, powerful appeal of Billy Jack was lost in a fog of preachy, pseudo-intellectual nonsense that left viewers scratching their heads. Number 6, the stunts are dangerous and unprofessional. With no budget for professional stunt coordinators, the action sequences in the demo reel are not just bad, they are genuinely dangerous. In one clip, a stuntman takes a fall that is clearly not planned or executed properly. landing awkwardly and nearly injuring himself. What audiences did not know was that this amateurish approach to stunts was a direct result of the film's non-existent budget and safety protocols. It was not just filmmaking, it was a liability waiting to happen. The performers are visibly hesitant, and the action is staged with a complete lack of expertise. It was not just a poor fight scene, it was a reckless disregard for the safety of the cast and crew. Watching these scenes is less thrilling and more anxiety inducing, a constant reminder that this was a project operating completely outside the professional norms of the industry. Number 5. It was supposed to launch a new Billy Jack television series. The ultimate goal of the demo reel was not just to fund a movie, it was to launch a Billy Jack television series. Tom Laughlin envisioned a weekly show where Billy Jack would travel the country, righting wrongs and dispensing wisdom. What audiences did not know was that the 20-minute demo was specifically structured to pitch this series concept to network executives. It was not just a movie pitch, it was a franchise pitch. The episodic nature of the scenes, each one a self-contained little story, was designed to show the potential for weekly adventures. It was not just a feature film idea, it was an attempt to turn the character into a television icon, like The Incredible Hulk or The Fugitive. The failure of this demo to secure funding meant the death of not just one movie, but an entire potential television universe for the character. Number 4, the project was completely ignored by the Hollywood establishment. By 1985, Tom Laughlin was persona non grata in Hollywood. His lawsuits against the studios and his reputation for being difficult had made him untouchable. What audiences did not know was that the demo reel for the return of Billy Jack was sent to every major studio and was met with a universal wall of silence. It was not just rejected, it was ignored. Executives were not just passing on the project, they were refusing to even engage with the man who had fought them so bitterly in the past. It was not just a business decision, it was the final act of a long-standing grudge. The demo reel's failure to get a single meeting was a testament to how completely Laughlin had burned his bridges within the industry. The system that Billy Jack fought on screen had, in real life, permanently defeated his creator. Number 3. The film has no real ending. The return of Billy Jack demo reel does not really end, it just stops. After a series of disconnected scenes, the footage simply cuts to black, often in the middle of a thought or an action. What audiences did not know was that this abrupt ending was because there was nothing more to show. The tape ran out. It was not a creative choice, it was a technical limitation. The lack of a conclusion leaves the viewer with a profound sense of incompleteness, a feeling that perfectly mirrors the project itself. It was not just a cliffhanger, it was a dead end. This non-ending is the final, perfect metaphor for the entire enterprise, a story that began with so much promise and ambition but ultimately led to nothing, fading to black without any resolution or catharsis. Number 2, it represents the death of the counterculture hero. The original Billy Jack was a symbol of the 1960s counterculture, a lone, noble warrior fighting against the establishment. The 1985 demo reel represents the sad, confusing end of that ideal. What audiences did not know was that Billy Jack's transformation from a martial arts wielding defender of the hippies to a new age spiritual guru was a perfect reflection of how the counterculture movement itself had evolved, or perhaps devolved, by the mid-80s. It was not just a character change, it was a cultural shift. The raw anger and political activism were replaced by a softer, more inward-looking, and ultimately less compelling focus on self-healing and spiritual awakening. It was not just a bad sequel, it was a final, quiet whimper of a revolutionary spirit that had once roared, a symbol of a generation that had lost its way. Number 1, the movie never actually existed. This brings us back to the beginning. The most shocking, fundamental fact about the return of Billy Jack is that the movie you think you are looking for never existed. There is no lost 90-minute feature film sitting in a vault somewhere. There is only the 20-minute demo reel. What audiences did not know was that decades of rumors, speculation, and bootleg legends have built up a myth around a product that was never actually manufactured. It was not a lost film, it was a phantom. The entire legend is based on a misunderstanding. The movie is a ghost, a shared hallucination created by a community of fans who wanted to believe there was one final, hidden chapter to the Billy Jack saga. The truth is both simpler and far more tragic. All that remains is a 20-minute videotape, a sad and beautiful relic of a dream that died. Bonus fact, the film had one secret: invitation-only screening that was a total disaster. In a final, bizarre attempt to generate buzz, Tom Laughlin arranged for a single, invitation-only screening of the demo reel at a small Los Angeles theater in the mid-80s. He handpicked the audience, inviting potential investors, a few friendly journalists, and some die-hard fans. What audiences did not know was that this premiere was an excruciatingly awkward event. The lights went up after 20 minutes, and the room was filled with confused silence. People looked around, wondering if that was a technical glitch or the entire show. Laughlin then took the stage for a 30-minute speech, passionately explaining his grand vision for the full feature and the television series, but the energy in the room was gone. It was not just a screening, it was a wake. The investors slipped out during the speech, and the project was never spoken of again. It was the one and only time Billy Jack's return was shown on a big screen, and it was a quiet, humiliating failure. The return of Billy Jack stands today not as a film, but as a monument to obsession. It is the final, heartbreaking chapter in the saga of a man who refused to let his character die, even when the world had moved on. What we see in that 20-minute demo reel is not a movie. It is a time capsule of a dream, a raw and unfiltered look at an artist's refusal to surrender. The legacy of this phantom film is not its story or its action. It is the powerful lesson it teaches about the passage of time, the changing nature of heroism, and the fine line between artistic conviction and self-delusion. In its own strange, unintentional way, the demo is more honest and moving than 100 polished Hollywood blockbusters. It is the pure, unvarnished expression of a creator's love for his creation, even when that love has curdled into obsession.